recorded as a kids broadcast or something, and that's why comments aren't allowed or something. Anyway, here's the view from my office. Looks like something came in from the outside in, probably a soccer ball or something, who knows. Is anyone there? If you're out there, leave a comment. I see there's one person. Charleston Amy, good morning. So, Amy, it is almost evening here. The sun is about to set. Okay, the sun is about to set. It's, what's the time? It's about 10 past 5 in the evening, and the sun will set at about 6 o'clock. Someone asked, is what is on the horizon there clouds? No, those are mountains. They're actually called the Swartberg, which means the Black Mountains. Hi Stephanie, good to see you there. Did I catch any fish? No, I didn't. I didn't try. I did try to catch some of these waves, as you can see out here. So I actually supped earlier today for the first time, and I struggled. Those waves look smaller than what they really are, and the water's quite cold, so I definitely struggled. But what was quite nice was I met some people here who are also suppers, kind of from Cape Town, and they, the wives supped, one of them supped with my board, and they actually really struggled, even though they'd done it before. So that was both good and bad. I was glad that they got something out of it, but they also struggled and were quite cold for the rest of the afternoon. As I came down the boardwalk over there, can you see it? I bumped into those people that I've met earlier today on the beach. So today's been one of the best days weather-wise. As you can see, not a cloud in the sky, and virtually no wind, and good weather. But apparently tomorrow it's going to be rainy. It's very hard to believe that all of this can change into rain by tomorrow. But apparently that's what's going to happen. Yeah, I think the first feed did go to the kids' content tube. Stephanie, a sup is stand-up paddle. So it's a kind of a big surfboard. From this, can you see the green object lying on the beach over there? That green thing. That's a stand-up paddleboard. It's basically where it's kind of a biggish board, and then you stand on it and you've got a paddle. If you go into my Twitter profile @CrimeRocket, it shows you how to sup, and I wish I'd watched that video before I went out today. Just because a simple thing like you need to stand on the middle of the board, and how to stand where your knees were, that would have helped me to know before I did it. The sea's a lot calmer than it was earlier today, but yeah, it's still fairly rough for supping anyway. So, just for your information, I've been reading this book for those interested. It's called Exercised. I think I've got to turn it around. And can you read that? And one of the terms in this book is senescence, and senescence is about the degradation of the body. Basically, it's an elegant word for growing older, and what you can do to slow down the effects of aging. Obviously, prime amongst those is exercise. Someone said try surfing. Surfing's actually even harder than supping, because you've got to pop up. Look at these waves. So, in the distance there's the Beacon Isle. Quite a long time ago I paddle skied around that hotel. There's a lagoon that comes out there, and in the good old days I paddled around that hotel from the lagoon side, which is the other side. Sup means to stand up paddle. So you stand on your surfboard with a single oar, and then you sort of stand. So sup stands for stand up paddle. So you can, if you're not sure what it means, you can try Googling it. Yeah, it's paddle boarding. I guess we call it supping. We call it that. You call it paddleboarding. Okay. I made a lot of notes here, but I'm not sure if I really want to talk about true crime out here. I don't know. Just don't really feel like it. What do you guys think? Someone says Nicole Boutelier, you're in a beautiful part of the earth. Well, inside this, shall I take you outside? Maybe that's a bit of a better view. So there's a stand-up board, that green board, you can actually see the pedal over there. That's a sup. There's a guy supping out there. There's another guy supping out there. Can you see they're holding a single pedal in their hands. There's another supper out there. And there's a normal surfer. That's Robber going out there. So that was what I was doing earlier today, supping. Someone said yuck, unsubscribing. I wonder what that was all about. If you have suppers, do you have lunches? Yeah, probably. The lunches probably don't sup. Someone says I could watch the ocean all day. Do you want to watch it? So one thing I can tell you guys is in this area is a guy accused of murdering his wife. He's lives somewhere here, I'm not sure exactly where, but you can Google his name, Jason Rohde, R-O-H-D-E, and at the moment he's appealing, I think the alleged murder of his wife. He's a multi-millionaire, and the case I think is still sub judice, but he's quite a famous dude who is suspected of doing something and suspected of having an affair, and I was actually in court when his case was being heard at about the same time as Henry van Breda. Any comments? Hello, Connecticut from Wisconsin. Stephanie says Jesse was right about the first live stream. Yeah, sorry, I'm kind of new to live streaming in nature. Some people are giving me funny looks. Some people are dressed really warmly, like thick winter jackets. Others are dressed in shorts, because it's not clear whether we're in summer yet or still in winter. It's kind of strange. Snow lion, it's spelled R-O-H-D-E, Rhoda. I can talk to you guys about that maybe at a different time, maybe on Patreon. I can tell you a little bit about that case. It feels a little bit like the Scott Peterson case because it's not been very straightforward to prosecute in a way. Good morning from Louisiana. So here's the view from here again. As you can see over there, the dogs are allowed on the beach. Ivy's mother called me earlier today and just showed me, there's another supper. Showed me video of Timmy. I thought Timmy would get very excited. There you can see a supper that's fallen off his board. Now let's watch him get on. He's first going a little bit forward. See, this is a dog beach over here. Going a bit forward. And now you should try and get up. Puts it down. Well, that's just really straightforward. Makes me think I should go back and fetch the board. Anyway, so I'm on the dog beach section of Plettenberg Bay Beach, which seems to be the popular section. Here come a whole bunch of people. Yeah, apparently Timmy is very happy where he is. So it makes me wonder, if I did bring him, would he be happier? Firefly says, don't forget to hit the like button. I live in the town where the Peterson case happened. That's interesting. Okay, so I'm going to go back into my cubicle here. Just for a little bit of privacy. I wonder if I can put this on its little stand. Let me just do that. Sorry about that. I'm just trying to sort this out. I'm getting kind of funny looks from people who've trying to figure out what's this guy doing in the surf thing. See if I can show you the view from the side. Let's see if I do this. Sorry for the sort of technical difficulties. Not really the best view, is it? Okay, well, I'll put it back on myself. Okay. Okay, so shall I talk to you a little bit about the latest news events? The FedEx shooter, Brandon Scott Hall. Do you sell TCRS t-shirts? I do. Google TCRS merch and go to Teespring, I think. I'll put a link in the description if you're interested. Yeah, that kid did look young. It's sad that he thought that he knew what life is all about at 19, but maybe in a way he did. Charleston, Amy, the water's colder than it usually is. The water's pretty cold. But not as cold as Cape Town. So the people that I met here earlier today, they actually have moved here from Cape Town. And Cape Town's well known in South Africa as being the most scenic place in the country and the place you most want to live in. But I think that sort of changed. The traffic is bad there, the crime is pretty bad. The scenery is still amazing, but I think it's cluttered with tourists, whereas a place like this you have beaches that are like that. So no problem with social distancing or anything like that. I must say, in this part of the world, coronavirus feels a bit like a theory. It really doesn't feel real. People do wear masks, but I don't know, it just feels like it's, it doesn't feel real. So someone asked, were the Sikhs that were killed by the FedEx shooter, was that coincidence? It's difficult to say. On the one hand, the proportion was fairly high, 50%, but on the other hand, that's a community where there are a lot of Sikhs in the community. Was he embittered against a particular group at his workplace? Possibly. But without knowing more about the shoot, it's difficult to say. I think the fact that we're asking that question means it's relevant and possibly likely relevant. If it's more than that, it's difficult to say at this point. Is there a bad echo? Because from where I'm sitting, it feels very echoey. So what I was discussing with folks on Patreon is just that so many mass shooters seem to be losers. They seem to be physically unattractive. They seem to be down on their luck with... I always feel weird now saying the opposite sex. Do you say the opposite sex when, these days people have same-sex relationships? So how do you say partner, I guess? So if you don't have a partner, is that going to lead to a shooting? And these are the ties that bind. So your ties to your family, ties to friends, groups of friends, ties to your community, ties to a girlfriend, ties to a family member. And if those aren't there, then it feels like they've got nothing to lose. So what is the typical family situation with a lot of these shooters? Dysfunctional is the answer. The typical family situation is often it's a single parent scenario, or something has happened that has broken the family up. So perhaps they've moved from one country to another or back to a country. But there's something, the normal glue that holds families together isn't there for whatever reason. There may also be sibling rivalry part of that sort of disconnection, right? So what we know with Brandon Scott Hole is that he had a stepsister, and also that his father, I believe, committed suicide. So you can see that there were already all sorts of problems in the family dynamic, and that's where it starts. The self-esteem starts within the family dynamic, and then where does it go from there? Well, it goes into the real world, and then it only gets reinforced, these self-esteem problems. So if you're not getting a sense of your value or your importance as a person from your family, it's very hard to get it from the outside world. People don't really care. So what I've written here is value starts with family, and where his own father committed suicide, you have a situation where his own father obviously struggled with his own self-esteem. His own father struggled with his own sense of value, and so that is definitely going to filter down to the son. If the own father can't justify his existence, how can his son? That is an existential question. So I want to talk briefly about the Chris Watts case. When I left off on YouTube, was it about 2 weeks ago now or something? I think I was talking about the idea that Shanann went out of the back entrance, back exit, the kitchen side, and some people said that because the dogs didn't alert at Chris Watts' truck, that's evidence that someone else was involved, and also that, I don't know, there was some kind of distraction. And I actually didn't bring the Discovery with me because I'm on holiday, but I did want to address that while I was here. I thought I might want to address that. So I had a creator that I'm quite good terms with email me the Discovery, and I just wanted to specifically refer to one thing, and it refers to the dog detected but gave no hard command, and that was on the side of Chris Watts' truck. So that was the dog handler Jane's canine. It detected but gave no hard command, and that's a little bit unclear, but I think it does show that someone was carried out on that side. The other thing to bear in mind, which is a bit tricky, is that there was a rainstorm on Tuesday, right? I believe the rainstorm happened after the cadaver dogs came in, so I don't think it's necessarily relevant. But what I do think is relevant, that I think a lot of people forget about, is Chris Watts had the whole of Monday evening and Monday morning. He probably had easily 7 or 8 hours to clean up the truck, and so on. One thing that we haven't seen with the Tenacity videos, did Chris Watts go out again to his truck and remove things from the truck, perhaps clean things from the truck? It seems hard to imagine that he wouldn't, but why wouldn't he if he knew that the cops were already circling? I think it's something to bear in mind. Just arrived. The time threw me a bit today. Okay, well, welcome. Well, I think even if you do have a dog expert talking about what is in the Discovery is not clear. And at one point I know in the Discovery it talks about something about that the dog couldn't go inside the truck because it was locked or something, and another one said that a dog did go in the truck. So bear in mind the case was basically stopped very early on, just as they were trying to get somewhere. They may have had an active hit if they went in the truck. It seems very hard to believe that the dogs wouldn't sense something inside the truck. It seems very hard to believe that. Sorry, I saw someone, Truth Will Out, thanks very much. Some petrol. Thanks a lot. Yeah, I've just looked at my expense account and it definitely, I was a little bit shocked. I was definitely a bit shocked at how many bills I've racked up. So, yeah. The other thing that I think is quite interesting, I've been reading this book, right? And it talks about anthropology and makes me think about Chris Watts as a kind of a caveman. I've said this quite a few times before in my books where I've said, you know, if Chris Watts and Shanann shared the same diet plan, if they shared the same fitness journey, I wonder whether what would have happened. And what they talk about in this book is that in the caveman time, there was a real thing where people swapped sex for food. So the male caveman would go and hunt, and you know, if he brought back something, if he hunted successfully and he brought back something back, there would be prestige for that. Prestige in that he'd had a successful hunt, and there would also be probably sex in exchange for food. And if you think of that in the Chris Watts case, in a weird way, you have him eating out with his mistress, and then he becomes some kind of other predator. I just found that just something that rang a bell in my mind. Just makes you wonder how far we as civilized people from being uncivilized. You know, we think as we wear clothing and we've got electronic devices and we speak in an educated way and we're educated, that we're civilized, but how far are we really from not being civilized? You guys want to have a look at the view from now? See how it's turning kind of a pink color? Okay. So yeah, it's 5:45. The sun is actually only meant to set at 6 o'clock, 1 minute past 6. But there's kind of a ridge of mountains, so in a way it's already gone below that. Corin Levi says, what are you in? I'm in a surf tower or a lifeguard tower that's a little bit seen better days. Look at the seagulls flying there. Angel 555, you never failed to show up. It's good to see you. Thanks for that, and I will have a drink on you, so thanks a lot. Heather West, thank you. Thanks Stephanie for thanking them. There's so many things I want to talk about here, but I just sort of feel a little bit out of my depth. And also there's so many eyes on me from different parts. But the one thing I wanted to mention is one of the things that made us a civilized society was cavemen becoming more cooperative with one another and also becoming less aggressive with one another. And if you think about that just in a general sense with regard to true crime and criminals, criminals are people who are aggressive. They maintain their aggression. They're very aggressive. What Chris Watts did is very aggressive to his own family, right? And so it sort of makes you wonder, how can you ever be civilized if that aggression is just waiting behind there? Olivia, thanks very much. I remember seeing, I think on Instagram, you saying you'll show up or something, or you'll keep your eyes open. So good to see you. I often do see you on Instagram. For those who are interested in this trip, head on to my Instagram page, or maybe put a link in the description. But I've been putting some quite good quality video there and some photos here and there as well. But if you just think of it in a general sense, to become civilized, we need to become less aggressive. To become civilized, we need to become more cooperative. And if you take those ideas and you look at the current situation, especially in America, with these police shootings and these mass shootings, it feels like we're becoming more aggressive again. It feels like we're becoming less cooperative again, doesn't it? In a general way. And so if you want to solve that, I think you've got to find a way, how can we as society become more cooperative? How can we as a society become less aggressive? And I think there are ways to achieve that are not rocket science. I think one of the answers is, how do you become less aggressive? Exercise. Get the crap out of your system. Get off the thing that is stressing you out, whether it's a computer game or whatever dynamic that is stressing you out, you know. Who wants to hear? Hi Gid, thanks a lot for your donation, thanks a lot. Who wants to hear memories of Plet? I made kind of a list of things that I remember from being here in the past. Does anyone want to know? Shall I show you the latest look of the sea and the sunset? Okay, so my history with this place kind of goes back quite a long way. I came here as a teenager, but almost out of school. Yeah, well, I guess after I'd come out of school, and at that point I was kind of a surfer dude, in the sense that I had a paddle ski and I was paddle skiing all over the place. I started off not knowing Plet very well and spending more time in Jeffreys Bay and the Wild Coast, which is above this part. So if you look at the coastline there, it's basically going further down that coastline and not in that direction, but in that direction, right? Going up the coast, going north up the east coast, okay. Well, it says I've used up 2 gigs of data, so my data might run out quite quickly. So I think I'm going to talk to you for another 10 minutes or so. This is also the area where kids leaving school for the last time had what's called rage parties. So I also came here for 1 or 2 of those. Not when I had finished school, but when some other people had finished school. And so there's kind of a festive feeling here during the summer. At one point I had a girlfriend who was, or she became my girlfriend, but at that point she wasn't my girlfriend. She was staying with her boyfriend at the lagoon in Caveman, which is basically that area just past Beacon Isle. By the way, what I thought of doing for you guys was staying a night at Beacon Isle and recording this kind of thing from there, you know, from a hotel room. But apparently it's at full capacity, there's nothing available. But I did think that might be quite a nice gesture for you guys and also a nice view. I remember, I think the very first time I came to Plettenberg Bay was with my father and mother and brother and sister, where my father was thinking of buying timeshare at the Beacon Isle, and it was quite heartbreaking when he decided not to. It was just like, I don't know whether he didn't think it was good value or what, but he was shown around by the sales folk, and then he ended up not buying anything, so it's quite sad. I also did a triathlon that way on the airport road in my early 20s, and one of the best performances I ever did in triathlon. There's a bit of controversy around that triathlon because some friends of mine were supporting me at the triathlon, and they said I came third and I was officially put fourth, and I just felt it would be like sour grapes to go up to the organizers and say, you know, I actually came third or whatever. But I've always kind of regretted that I didn't make sure, because you know, were you third, were you fourth? It would be nice to have known for sure, but spring break, okay. So that was a triathlon that I did. I was actually using creatine at the time, and at that time it was considered borderline like a forbidden substance, and I thought it was having a big impact on my abilities. And then so I did really well on creatine in that triathlon, and then I did another one where I didn't do very well, and so the magic, the placebo, I guess, of it wore off. I'm on the east coast of England. Okay, so something else I can tell you is I once came through here with Phil Liggett, the voice of cycling, where I was part of the media crew of the South Sea Tour of South Africa. It was a cycling race, and what was quite spectacular was all these cyclists shooting through Plettenberg Bay, which is quite up and down and very scenic in places. And so I was in the same minibus as Phil Liggett, which is quite exciting. And do you guys know who he is? He's a British cycling commentator. And I was there to take photos, and I ultimately wrote an article for Cycling Magazine in the UK, and I interviewed the winner of that event, Christian House. So that was another reason why I came here. I couldn't find accommodation in Plet that weekend with a tour of South Africa, but they did recommend that I stay on a farm in Oudtshoorn, and that's how I got to know about the meerkat man, and that's how I took those photos. I put quite a few photos of beautiful birds of the garden route on Patreon, and it really is quite something. You know, the birds here are definitely, they've got these long beaks and they drink nectar, and the biome of this area, it's called fynbos, is something that survived the previous ice age, and so in that sense it's quite exceptional. There's something quite exceptional about this part of the world, kind of in a global sense. I can also tell you, earlier today I went for a walk on the beach, and on my way back there were whales slapping their tails in the bay. Not quite sure what kind of whales. Some people say humpback whales, we're not quite sure. I also worked for Play Tourism here and wrote quite a few magazine articles. My co-author Lisa came here once with me, and we actually stayed in a shack on Robberg, a little shack in the middle of the wilderness, which is quite something. At the moment I'm training for a mountain bike event. It's not a race, it's just a 3-day event, and I'm kind of very conscious of my unfitness, and I'm just impatient to get fit and healthy and, you know, on the ball. And if anything, when I go back to work, I really want to prioritize training, make sure I get through training every single day. The person who I'm staying at his house is a friend of mine, and he's very, very fit. He came third in South Africa in the South African Road Cycling Championships, third in his age group in South Africa, so that's how good he is. Very fit guy. I actually ran around Robberg with his wife and a friend of his wife. She's also super fit. So it's good having friends that inspire you and keep you healthy and keep you motivated and keep you on your toes. I've got some other stuff that I've written, but it's kind of getting cold and dark, so I think I'll maybe do a part 2 of this on Patreon. But before I go, let me show you what it looks like outside one more time. You see the moon. Okay guys, Stephanie, thanks a lot for holding up the fort. David Hasselhoff, well, maybe that's his dog. No, I don't know where he is, sorry. Yvonne Phillips, thanks a lot. I'm glad that I figured out this chatting thing. Sometimes it's a small little thing that you need to do that changes everything, right? It's amazing how the sea looks. It's just so, it's almost like it's glowing at this point. I'll take a photo of it. I might do another follow-up video on Patreon either tomorrow or later on in the week. Apparently the weather's going to be quite rainy from there going forward. Anyway, wherever you are, guys are, stay safe, and I'll see you guys next time. To all those who've contributed, I really appreciate it. Stephanie, who's done moderating, thanks very much again, and watch this space. I'll see you guys again. Take care. Ciao.